Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera Legos Ram Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, C10, Demonio, Dinaja, Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, C10, Demonio, Dinaja, Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Apocrypha, as always, the only Apocrypha podcast on YouTube. I don't know if we're the best occult podcast, but, I'd like to say that we're creeping up to it. And we are joined again by Shea. People have told me how to pronounce his last name like 5-6 times already. You've told me the
in the
proud
last 5 minutes.
Yeah, last 5 minutes. And I think my brain just goes one direction with the spelling of it.
Give it a try. There's so many directions to go, and most of them are wrong. Let's go.
Is it
You've known
Belay?
me now for like a year. Huh?
Belay?
Yeah, there it is.
All right, so Shea Bile. All right, so it's not what I was thinking, what my brain wants to say. And he's laughing, so he knows exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Bile. Here's the thing about Shea Bile. It's like a gutter punk type, like Bile, like
Right.
It has that like backyard punk, gutter punk type, or crust punk type name. So
Yeah.
I get Shea Bile half the time, but there's an accent there, right?
Yep.
So people who speak Spanish, they just speak it like Spanish, right? Just Bile, right? There it is.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I mean, I speak Spanish, but like my brain still goes with bio. Right. So
I'm gonna say Atius. Atius.
Adios.
I'm gonna say it
Right.
like it's Greek. Atius.
Well, so here's the thing. The funny thing is I pronounce the last name for my I don't want to say character because it's not character because it is who I am. It's just, but I pronounce it in English because the Latin or Gaelic pronunciation is Dade. And the thing is that's way too close to daddy. And I really don't want people calling me daddy.
Would refuse, for the record.
Right. You just can't compel people to say that. You have to earn it.
Right. So that's why it's Addy is Dade. So what we're going to start out with, as always, we're going to start out with our weekly tarot read run by Mystic Salon up there. So I'm going to click on him. So he's the focal points right now. And what decks do you have for us?
So I have a fabulous deck. So I got this deck kind of like as a joke. And like, this is going to be funny. It's going to be stupid, but I really like it. And I've been using it lately. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Todd Alcott.
I saw this online the other day.
Oh, I'm obsessed. This deck.
That looks like an old school, like 70s style.
It 50, like 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah. All of them are like throw up posts. Pretty fucking cool. And they actually put thought into it, right? So not just random shit with names on it. They actually thought about what would fit where. So a couple random cards you can kind of see. Hanged Man, for example.
That's cool.
Now is this like a broad reading for us or the audience or the next 2 weeks? Like, what's
the latter statement. It is kind of just a general read for the next week or so of the room. I think everybody knows, and most of the people in the chat know, my reading style. I don't like doing the general read. Well, I like doing it. I don't want to say that. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? These cards generally get pretty specific, so we try to be as even as we can. But it is just a general energy read of what's been going on and what's in the air. So our first card, this High Priestess, which again, two favorite cards in the deck. For some reason for me are High Priestess and Magician. So I've always loved them. I don't have my necklace on, but I actually have a necklace of the one of the High Priestess that I kind of carry around. So really cool energy here. The High Priestess is telling us is all about this, like listening to your intuition. Where's your feminine energy? What are you bringing to the table? What are you going through? And reminding us not to take shortcuts, right? If we're going to do the magic that we say we're going to do, if we're going to put in the effort that we're going to put in, why the hell would we take shortcuts, right? Don't take shortcuts. Don't try to go around shit. Go through it. High Priestess is taking the magician's magic and saying, do the fucking magic. Don't just, kind of cut corners. And, the Cheeto dust meme comes to mind with this. There's a meme that's gone around Facebook where, the witches are just very proud that they throw their rituals out there with Cheeto dust because they're just cool and down to earth, right? Well, that's fine. The High Priestess is saying, put some energy into it, put some respect into the process. Listen to what's going on around you, be connected to stuff. Don't just randomly throw shit out there. Whenever the High Priestess comes up for me, the energy that I get is just this really strong feminine energy, but it's kind of quiet. It's not in your face. It's just like, haha, fuck around, out. And she's definitely on the find out side of. Our second card we have is King of Swords. I love these cards, man. That image is so crazy. I really thought I would hate them.
I love vintage sci-fi. Like it's my favorite, like 50s, 60s. It gives that era. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And every card does. They're so, all of them are like this. So our King of Swords, this guy is like knows everything. I know everything that's going on. I am the smartest man in the room. Nobody can touch me. A little bit of ego going on there, but it's also that energy that we need to take in of actually recognizing that we have intelligence and that we need to use it for things that can actually help us do stuff, right? It's not good to be smart if you're not able to apply any of that, something that you're doing. So our King of Swords is showing up in this reading that started with the High Priestess saying, we're not taking shortcuts, but not only that, we're going to use what we've learned. We're going to use our minds to do the work that we're doing over this next week or two. We're really going to focus on those things. A lot of times your swords cards can really mean, you have opportunities or you have struggles or whatever, but King, he's in control in most cases. He's understanding of what he's doing. So I don't want to say manipulative, but he knows what he's doing with his knowledge. And so it's a reminder to us to use our knowledge to actually, it's, for me anyway, it's kind of common that we will learn something and then our emotions take over, right? And then all these other things happen and we've now executed something and it's useless. It doesn't work or it's not to its full potential. The King of Swords says, let all that shit go and apply what you know. Don't take that or take that extra step. Don't do the shortcut that we're talking about and fuck it all up. Just do the work. And then our final card, Six of Swords. I'm telling you, these are the best ever. I want these all posted up in my room. Six of Swords is a little bit of a different story. When you get to the Six of Swords, we're talking a little bit more, we're stuck in the mire, things are going to get a little mucky. So we have to expect if we're looking at our energy around us that things are going to get a little mucky. They're not going to be fun. We're going to be presented with some challenges. But the swords is really about your ability to pull through them or cut through them. We've talked about this for the last couple of years. I've been doing readings, and the swords are fun to me because they often represent or make us feel in the traditional tarot that everything is a cut, right? Everything is bad. Everything is horrible. But there's a lot of things you can do with a knife, sharp knife, right? You can cut somebody and kill them. You can trim a bonsai tree to let it grow. So the Six of Swords is that kind of reminder that even when we have things that are difficult or hard, we're going to make it through to the next thing. So expect that our energy around us may get a little bit difficult and present us with some challenges, but also know that if we use our brains and the things that we have learned and we stay focused, we'll be able to get through whatever we're doing. And that is the read for this. But before we go, I'm moving a lot of stuff around. Give me a second. Before we go, I want to throw up a couple of other cards because these are just too fucking cool. Look at the Seven of Swords.
Yeah, usually the Seven of Swords we're talking about a departure, right? So.
Oh, he's departing somewhere.
Yeah, no, right. But he's a bit
But
more proud than the Seven of Swords usually is from the Edward Waite.
yeah, and I think he's also a little bit more stolen.
Rider Waite, sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to read what it says, but in my old eyes, without my reader glasses, I can't read it. Anybody read that? I can't.
We stole weapons from the invaders, but was it justice?
Huh.
That's winning at a shameful affect, winning at the expense, right?
Yeah, I love that. Knight of Pentacles. This is the last one I'll show. I just have like the imagery on these are just, I love them.
So Salon, what would you say the general reading is? You had the 2 or 3 kings, you had the 6 of swords. What would you say altogether that message is?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from, and the way I read, I generally will pull a major arcana first from the major arcana separated out. So our high priestess is the driving force of that reading, right? I pull separately. So my minors I pull separate from my majors. That high priestess is setting the stage of that idea that we need to do what it is we need to do. We need to work through the magic. And then having the other two, both being swords, meaning we're going to have some sucky energy this week we're going to have to work through. We're going to have to use our brains to get through it, and we're going to have to do what we say we're going to do. So from an energy standpoint, it's things are going to feel like they're difficult or rough, but we have the opportunity to pull through them if we so choose to do so. But you have to apply some mind to it, have to apply some forethought and some active thought to that instead of just thinking things are going to get better on their own.
And the kings kind of represent like a discipline. So there's a message of discipline, utilizing a form of discipline, assertion. So on.
Yep, just like in the beginning for the King of Swords, it's really, to me, there's always a little bit of ego with the kings. But in the specific King of Swords here, he's the smartest man in the room, and it's not the smartest man in the room like, I'm better than everybody. It's I'm using my knowledge to do the thing that needs to be done. It's an active part of the swords.
With the left-hand path on the internet, everyone thinks they're the smartest person in the room.
That is accurate, and maybe they are for themselves, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fun. We talked about that last week. We talked about like the occult in the internet era and the pros and cons.
Everyone with a Facebook group is a high priest, a founder, the chosen one. They have 120 members of a Facebook group, and suddenly they're the ruler of one particular brand of theistic Satanism or another. So,
I literally went on a rant about this like a couple of weeks ago about how people give themselves like a high priest, high priestess title and have no idea what that like the weight that actually holds.
I think I saw your post about that, and it's poignant, right? Like, I think this is a broader conversation about the occult, the esoteric, how it artificially imbues some personalities with a sense of a sense of might, or a sense of power, or this kind of thing. Like the occult can artificially inject someone with with these traits that are kind of rather narcissistic. I mean, it's narcissistic to say you're the living embodiment of Isis or Lucifer or something like that. It's ridiculous, and you're shouting that you're an incarnation of a god, and you have 12 likes on your post. That's not to say that likes or engagement has anything to do with the value of a statement, but it's like when you're going to present yourself as the incarnation of a god, you're the only one. I hope it has more coverage. I hope it has a little bit more going for it. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, it was just a random old dude that came up behind Rook.
Hey, that's not a random old dude. That's one of our biker guys.
Okay.
He's a biker.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of our motorcycle clubs.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know why I found that so funny. I think it was just the
was good
randomness on
timing.
it. It was just like, oh, we have another guest.
Right.
What do you think?
We talked about that so like a lot over the years of how people kind of have this immediate reaction to wanting to be the thing that does all the things, like the high priestess or high priest or your thing. I know, it's one of the reasons. I know we've talked about this at some other times. We have our own podcast we do every Sunday. Like we stopped it because I'm like, I don't want people looking at us like we're the authority on something because we're not, and I don't want to be that authority. That's not our place. And a lot of people just immediately think that you've learned one thing or two things and you're the authority on it now. I'm like, I've got way too much to learn from that. Way too. I do want to have a platform where we can have conversations about it. We had to reestablish our role to our community, saying, look, guys, we don't know what we're doing. We're figuring this stuff out together. We're looking this up together. We're reading this shit together and trying to pick up and learn conversations. It is frustrating to me when somebody just goes right to I'm the high priestess of the ISIS squad of Hecates. I don't know, whatever they call it, and then expect to get mad when you're like, well, okay, kid, do what you got to do,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's fine if people do that. Like they want to be the high priestess of your life, great, go on. But don't interject that into the community, in my opinion, anyway, because it's confusing to people that don't know better.
Yeah, the esoteric world has allowed a platform for.
I don't have any more.
And I'm almost channeling classical Satanism and Anton LaVey to say it's allowed a platform for the least accomplished or the least interesting and the least tapped in to proclaim a profound position in the world. And where's the credentials? Do we have credentials? And the left-hand path is so autonomous. It talks about such individualism. The idea of credentials, some sort of collective telling you what your knowledge is worth, is anathemic. It's who would do that? We fight against that kind of thing. I don't have to prove anything to you, motherfucker. Why do I have to prove something to you? But the reality is, in this particular world, in the lack of credentials, we have no way other than, we have no way to fully, you can just claim whatever title you can, and they expect some sort of, us to acquiesce to that. And there is a need for credentials. Now, I don't know how we actualize that, but LaVey said it's worldly accomplishment. Tell me how you're doing in the world, rather than what you're doing in the world of occultism and the esoteric.
Well, I can say. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go for it.
No. Go ahead.
So I can say one of the things that Dyra and I are attempting to do with the academy that we have been building for the last 2 years, which has a very non-serious name, but it's going by witch skills. The idea behind it is not just left-hand path, but to provide people a standardized education in the occult as a starting point. Now, that's not to say that is to give them the title of like a fucking high priest. I mean, I think that's something independent of itself, but at least to try to standardize the information that we have available to us that goes through history to understand what it is that we're getting into and how to build things on their own, like to take a student that doesn't know shit, and by the time that they're done, and we're not talking about like a 6-month course, we're talking about like a full-on 4-year course, like 4 years of studying the occult, from like whether you're specifically targeting left-hand path or you're talking about generalized paganism, Wicca, whatever it might be. You choose that, like that major, so to speak, and that's what you go in and you learn. And then at the end of it, you can say that you have a better understanding from beginning to end where things started and where we are now. And then you're able to build something yourself with that understanding. And it's a pain in the ass. Like standardizing the occult, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's not easy to create like a standardized educational system of the occult.
Right. I mean, although there's a virtue in saying that all these different paths lead to alignment, I don't think every hole leads to the well. There's a thing that Marilyn Manson has said years ago, like 15 years ago in an interview. He said, they said, what about all these ways people can make music? There's all this software. Everyone now can make music. And he says, well, not everyone that digs a hole is a grave digger. So I think in the world of the esoteric, it's important to understand a broad system, a foundational system, so that you can understand certain memetics, and you can understand certain symbols, and you can understand the sigils, and you can understand all the basic, if you look at Picasso, he has classic paintings. Before he went into Cubism, he understood classical tradition to an expert level before he started doing the abstract. And I think that's the way to go. You have to understand what came before.
Yep.
Some people would disagree with that, but I think it's important to understand what's going on. And then you begin to just take what you're drawn to. There's a just like in the university, you have a general education, and then you take your major, like you said. You take a particular path that resonates with you and you're going to be passionate about.
All right, Mystic, what?
Yeah, I think so. I apply the idea from credentialing. It always pops in my head because my job requires extensive like degrees and credentialing, and I've always been able to recognize, and this is something that we fail out in my field of healthcare, is our credentials don't say you are good at what you do. They don't say that you have anything super special. All they say is you have an aptitude for learning this thing. Right. So I have certifications in dementia care. I'm not a dementia expert. I have certifications in nursing. I'm not a nursing expert. I have those credentials that say, I have taken extra energy to do that thing. And it's not applicable across wide things. And I kind of think this goes into this discussion kind of the same way, where credentials aren't the issue, aren't the ultimate end all piece of it, because it's what you do with that information. Now, am I going to go to somebody, a physician, or to get surgery, or a surgeon to get surgery, or am I going to go to a psychiatrist to get surgery, right? Those credentials are meant to provide some level of expectation on the back end of it. In the occult, I think it applies kind of in the same way. I completely agree that we should have this, or not we should have, that's the wrong way to say it, that it is beneficial to have a base of knowledge of how things work in order to apply other things on it, right? So, but the problem will always be, who is the credentialing service? Who gets to bestow that credential, right? Who gets to decide what is and what isn't that thing? And I think that's what makes it hard when it comes to something like esoteric knowledge or how systems are applied. The other half of it for me is human beings are very averse to being told they're wrong. They don't like it. They really don't like it. So when you're talking to somebody and somebody corrects you on something like that, they're like, who the fuck are you? I know what I'm doing. You're not me. I can do whatever I want. And it's like, no, if you're really interested in learning and trying to do better at things, and you're going to listen to what people say, like, oh, I hear you. I'm going to look into that, right? And that, to me, is what is the value is in education over any type of credential or, what we do or how we do it. It's all about that ability to say, I don't know everything and I want to know more, and I hear you, and I'm going to process this and look it up, or Good example, Shay, is Friedrich Nietzsche and the Left Hand Path. I know nothing about Nietzsche. I read your book a year and a half ago or whatever it first came out. And I'm like, the next 8 books and things I read were all on Nietzsche. So it kind of pushed me into that. And then I come back to read the book and it's got a completely different meaning, of course, because I have a whole new body of knowledge. But no credential would do that. What does that is I'm wrong about pretty much everything I do. And I want to learn about something new and have a new base to learn. So I'm like, let me go back to the beginning. I was never into that. And I think that's where we run into the biggest problem with our with occult learning and all that stuff, is like everybody thinks they have the answer. No, everybody knows they have the but nobody's willing to put in the work to figure it out or learn it for themselves. And I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people. That's where you get the high priestess that I'm a high priestess, because it feels good and I want to be the high priestess of my own thing, right?
Yeah, there's a trust system that we have, and what you just said, you said you picked up some background knowledge so you can understand the work in a new way, and these are all what you're discussing is scholarly stuff, right? So you're approaching in a particular way, and you're a humble individual. I've now spent a couple of times with you, uh, and that's and I think it might work. That's a balanced approach, and I think if the community was like that, it would work. But we know, we
Mm-hmm.
know that isn't what ends up happening. And again, I go back to, although I have my disagreements with Anton LaVey, I think his beliefs are foundational, and I might even be able to argue that we're here, like it or not, for better or for worse. We're here for a lot of his thought. And he said, I need to see real world accomplishments before you're elevated within the order. I need to see that you've done things in the real world, because I can't trust your magical or your religious or your spiritual knowledge. I can't do anything with that. You can claim, after looking at it at a year, that you're speaking to these gods and now you're a channeler, and I can't verify that from you. So, real world accomplishments. But then we come into the saying, a poor magician is a poor magician. And a lot of people are offended by that kind of thing. But I think in spirit, that term means, if you're a great magician, I need to see that you've had command of the world, that you've had command in the material world, if that's what you wish to do. If you want to go into a cave and you want to fast and you want to do that and live in poverty, that's an intention. But if you're talking about power and self-actualization and playing in this game of society that we live in, then I'm going to want to know what your religion and your demonolatry and your demons are doing for you. If you've spent 10 or 15 years saying these powerful demons are teaching you something, I want to see the results of that. Otherwise, what other measurement do I have to understand that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely.
Show me the receipt.
All this talk of might and all this talk of being godlike and autonomy, I want to know what that's led to.
Well, I think what happens online is, well, at least what I've noticed in my own experience, because I do say kind of like very much similarly to Mystic, where my intention here has never been to be a leader or be an authority on something. However, I do believe that once you start going public online, you start talking about your experiences and you start talking about the things that you've done and the things that you've accomplished, whether you want to or not, you inherently garner some recognition or understanding as being a leader, because you're doing something that other people aren't. You're doing something, people are coming to watch you, they're coming to listen to you, they're coming to learn from you. And it is through that action that, whether you want to or not, you become some type of leader. And then it's whether or not at that moment, is that something that you're going to hold on to, or are you just going to keep telling yourself that you're not? And I think that that's where like the left-hand path comes in. Like, at least for me, is, getting to that point of understanding of, no, I don't necessarily or inherently want to be a leader, but I know that, regardless of the numbers that are on this channel, there's 1,500 people that regularly come back to this channel to listen to what the fuck I have to say. Now, is that, you know, comparably to her channel, which is 3,000, or her Instagram, 4,000, or her Instagram, which is over 11,000? It's different levels of the same thing.
Sure.
You know, and it's just like whether or not, like in the left-hand path, like, do you want to hold on to that? Do you want to grab that? Are you going to grab that? Because you're putting yourself into a position by publicly speaking about your experiences. Go ahead.
Right. I think if you have humility, and this conversation is moot, right? So we're not talking to people that have humility, where they go, I'm studying right now. I'm not going to make any broad assertions about the path or the world. I'm going to have conversations and be willing to learn and do all these things. And if they have humility, then we're done. That's not what we're addressing here. It's a measure of saying something absolute about the world itself. Now, I think a lot of us are familiar with demonology. And then someone will say, well, Belial appeared to me as carrying chains. Like, these are real world examples I've heard. And another one said, as a poop emoji. Belial came to me as a poop emoji. I wish I was lying about that. That's literally what someone has said. And the spirits are weird, and maybe they would. But it's... So, if you cannot say, hey, this was my experience, by the way, the difference is, you can say, oh, well, this is Belial's a poop emoji. And you can say that he's always been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's that's the difference.
Well, I think to that effect, I mean, when it comes to, you know, stuff, I've never talked about, like, at least in absolutes, like how things are presented to me. Like, even like with Baphomet, the one thing that I'm known for most is my work with Baphomet, and that I will sit here and I will die on the hill of saying that Baphomet is not just, you know, an egregore, but an actual entity. I've built an entire course going all the way back to the Goat of Mendes, you know, and the connections and the relations from the Goat of Mendes to Baphomet. You know, Baphomet's just a modern incarnation. But I've always told people, you know, however Baphomet presents to you, if it's male, female, if it's whatever, then that's for you, right? That's how your mind and your state of being can understand what's going on, you know, and it doesn't mean that what I'm saying is any less valid or what you've experienced is any less valid. It's just a differential, you know, that's it. So, and I think in the occult that aspect of it needs to exist. Like, you need to have that aspect open because we experience things differently. I've done a couple of rituals with Belial. I didn't get shit back. Nothing. Like, no response, no connection, no nothing. You know, not even you're not ready. You know, just silence. And that's my experience.
Yeah, in our conversations, even over the last years, before the show and all of that, for what's been 4 years, 5 years? Good God. 4, something like that. I've never heard you claim to be an authority on any of those things except for through your own lens, which I've always found to be nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with Baphomet, very central to the satanic current, you know, an edifice of certain ideas. You know, brought to the zeitgeist by Eliphas Levi. So I kind of wonder, Adius, if, you know, for me personally, I've always imagined him as being. Now I have this on my altar, and I think the symbol of Baphomet is very important. But as try as I might, I've always seen Baphomet as an artifice, as a symbolic artifice. And I'm very much a believer, so I don't see the divinity as, but it's, to me, it's never been fully tangible as something divine, just symbolic of this path. Now, I think egregores can exist, and when you talk about the goat of Mendes, I feel like that's a bit more tangible. But if we talk about Eliphas Levi's Baphomet, I feel like it's less tangible because it's highly symbolic. And Levi didn't view Baphomet as it was more a reference to other things. So I kind of wonder how you square that, specifically Levi's Baphomet.
So I roll with Levi's Baphomet because it is the modern goat god that we have, right? Now, going back through the history, like I've looked into European history, not even just gods, like we're talking like spirit entities that would take form of goats, the reverence that goats used to have before Christianity kind of rolled through and kind of took over and flipped the script on where now it's a sheep that is revered and the goat is symbolic to evil and, you know, the devil and this, that, and I'm sure you're aware of everything I'm talking about. So going all the way back to, you know, Mendes, I just looked at how it connects. I'm not working with anything or worshiping anything that is different than Mendes. And that's as far back as I've gone, is Mendes. Now I'm sure I could probably go back further if I tried, but that's as far back as I went. Working and worshiping Baphomet is no different than worshiping the goat of Mendes. It's just a more modern, integrated understanding of what that includes and what that encompasses. Baphomet is balance. And the thing is it doesn't matter how much left-hand path aggression we have or where we are in our lives, the accountability that we take, the responsibility that we have for our own actions. We require balance in our lives, however that may look. Now, balance isn't inherently 50-50. It's a conversation that I've had a million times with Mystic and many other people. When we think of balance, we think of a scale at 50-50 and that balance is level. Balance isn't inherently 50-50. Now, what your balance in your life is and what the balance of somebody else's life is, that's completely subjective. But worshiping and working with Baphomet is balancing out the scales of what you're doing in your life so you don't burn out on one end or the other. And the way that my work and my worship has gone into things, when I look at it, I think of it as a tree with a root system. And that root system is where everything starts. The strongest part of a tree is its roots. It's where the sapling grew from. Baphomet, or you want to just say generalized, the goat god, right, is part of that root system. Now, everything else is on the branches. When we talk about Belial, we talk about Lucifer, we talk about, you know, all of that. For me, all of that is on the branches. All of that sprawls out on the branches and goes into different directions. The roots, what's connected to the roots, at least the only thing that I've found that we have connection to on the roots, is something that keeps coming back to us in history. And that is the goat god. Now, you call it what you want. You want to call it the goat of Mendes, you want to call it Baphomet, give it whatever name you want to give it. That goat god is the only thing that keeps coming back to us. Now, I think the reason why we haven't come up with a new one since Levi is because there hasn't been a need to, because that symbol has been used universally across the board for most of the left-hand path. Like you yourself have said that, you know, it's inherently satanic, right? Like it has that connection to it. You have it on your altar. There's a reason for that. Now, when we look at that, right, there's no need to change it. There's no need for something new. That's our connection. Right now, Baphomet as an entity, maybe you haven't been able to connect to in your mind Baphomet as an entity as you see it, but to some degree you have because it's on your altar.
Sure. I, you know, I've started to phrase it recently that I I call myself an omnitheistic Satanist, so that in all ways that the divine could exist, I'm able to subscribe to it in one way.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I can call myself, I could give offerings and plead and be what I call Satan fearing. I love that term. I'm Satan fearing. That is to say, I view the awesomeness of the divine and the God as something that is unsettling, that is even
Mm-hmm.
disturbing. Same thing with demons, they should be terrifying. And I want to be the party where Mystic is at. And but then I could say in a moment, I could fully enjoy the tradition of atheistic Satanism, which is actually the 19th century where it kind of started. So I could enjoy what it means to be that. And that's the same thing with Baphomet. I see Baphomet as having a particular position where I venerate it as a particular aspect. The one place where I divert from you is that Baphomet might have a direct inheritance from like the witch father, the witch's Sabbath, the goat god that comes from like Cernunnos. We might be able to draw Cernunnos in there. We might be able to draw Pan in there. We might be able to draw some of the transformation that Christianity did with the pagan cults of the last 2,000 years. But the go to Mendes, I would say, actually starts to get to. I mean, we now know, we have sufficient evidence to now know that Baphomet comes from it comes from the Crusades and going into the Arab world, and they're yelling out Muhammad.
Yep.
And they come back and say, we heard our enemies saying a demonic god, Muhammad, and that's how we think we got Muhammad, Baphomet. I think that starts to draw on maybe a different, we start to go into Semitic, we start to go into the Judaic of sacrifice. You said, what comes before that? Well, then we go to animal and human sacrifice in the earliest days of the Hebrew religion, of the Abrahamic religion, which human and animal sacrifice was fairly common in the earliest days. So
Yes.
you go back any further, and that's what you get, you know. So
No, I agree with you, and I think that's the point of contention that most people have when I say that, you know, I worship Baphomet. I work with Baphomet primarily. I'm a dedicant of Baphomet because most people get hung up on that history, which is, it's 100% accurate. Like, I mean, as far as we are aware, that's 100% accurate. Like, Baphomet, as we know Baphomet today, was a fucking linguistic misunderstanding. Like, that's what Baphomet was.
a lot of the demons are.
Exactly. And so I don't think that that makes it much difference because of that. I think that there's a lot more connected to it than even Levy thought would be connected to it when he drew that illustration. He drew that illustration just as like an overall understanding of the occult. That was it. But he didn't understand the full depth of what he was making when he made it. If that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I think of certain figures as prophets. I really do. I think of some of the people I write about from the 19th century, like Stanislav Szybyszewski, like Ben Kadash. I think of Anton LaVey as prophets. They were, even if, well, there's arguments on whether LaVey would consider himself. He wasn't as atheistic as people say. But I think of him as a prophet, meaning I see a bigger picture than these individuals might have left on or might have led on to. That so in not much of a different way, you know. So that's why I connect to what you're saying at this moment. You're saying, hey, I see something bigger than what might have been intended, or something more broad, or something different. I feel the same way about certain figures, that they originated certain vision that may in history start to make more sense and might actually be bigger than what they were trying to say. So I have no qualms with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. I mean, and that's the whole reason. Like, I mean, like the tattoo on my hand, you know, my most recent one's why I felt like the necessity to incorporate, you know, the inverted pentagram with the sigil of Lucifer. You know, when I drew this out, because my work with Lucifer, I think the only work that rivals my work with Baphomet is my work with Lucifer. Like those are like where I would say my dedications lie, is with Lucifer and Baphomet. Now I'll go out and I'll work with other things, but I think that there are parallels between the two that with Lucifer have helped me see things with Baphomet that I think other people generally ignore. And then the way Baphomet comes through with me, for me, it's like a bright light banging on a door. Like it's not something you can ignore. But now that's just my fucking experience, right? We talked about that, right? That's just my experience. You know, I'm sure you've worked with Belial and you've gotten great results with Belial. I've tried to work with Belial. I got shit, right? So maybe we're, you know, on the flip side of this, right? So it's, and this is where I talk about, like, when it comes to standardizing the occult's a pain in the fucking ass, because you can't. When people ask me, well, Adius, how do you work with Baphomet? I say, just fucking do it. Like, I just do it. Like, I mean, you don't need me to tell you how to set up an altar. Like, there's a million books out there to tell you how to do that. You know, like, you want something simple, light a candle, sit down in a dark room with a lit candle and focus on the flame. I mean, it's like, I mean, what do you want? Like, I mean, just do it. You know, one of the things that have always irritated me with the occult is like, it's just repetition of the simplest shit that we've all learned 10, 15 years ago that Scott Cunningham covered.
Oh, Scott Cunningham. I love Scott Cunningham.
Oh, he's great.
That would be surprising to some people listening. I love Scott Cunningham. And Scott Cunningham was damn near almost like Christian Wiccan. But his work was exhaustive and it was genuine. And he cared a lot about what he was doing. But you're right. I came up on Silver Ravenwolf, Wicca. Teen Witch was one of the first books I read. I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And it on the front in the 90s, it was so 90s coded. People in like loose jeans, and they're on the front, and they're out in the forest, and it's actually, now I look upon it kind of romantically, like as innocent and all that. But it taught me things that are so powerful today. Sometimes you just need to light a black candle and sit alone in a room, and you're gonna have a profound experience. Like, absolutely. And I think that's what you're alluding to. That's what you're speaking to. Is sometimes sitting in a room in silence, you're going to have it's possible to have a profound experience. You may not have to fast for 7 days, draw a circle out in the desert, and bow for another week or two, and then have this experience before the throne of God. I think very well we can have an experience without as many tools as our predecessors.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, like, the first temple you need to build is the temple in your mind. I think that's the first one that you need to build, because regardless of, like, I mean, I have a pretty, you know, I for me, what I would consider like an extravagant altar, but it's just stuff. That it's just stuff that I either bought or was given to me or something along the lines. It's just shit. It, you know, house burns down, it's gone. You know, somebody comes in and for some reason wants to steal that particular stuff, you know, it's gone. The first altar you need to build, the first temple you need to build is the temple in your mind, because that's the only one no one can take away from you. So I don't know what they're doing with the screens that keep disappearing and shit.
Me nervous.
People are leaving your thing by.
What does Dyra think?
What do you think?
I can't even remember what we were talking about now. Altars.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, no, that's been really big for me with like the whole, altars just being stuff. Like I had, an occult collection of things back in the UK that I'd built over many years and had to leave about 95% of it behind, moving to Mexico because I just didn't have the means to bring it all with me. So I'm now paying like £80 a month to like keep it all in a storage unit. I mean, obviously I do plan to get it out here at some point, but like, no, that's been like massive, like understanding that, it's just stuff and the true altar is the self. So that's where all like the actual work happens. So yeah.
I mean, do you agree, Shay?
You're saying your altar faces the south?
No, I said that the true altar is the self.
The self. Got it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, absolutely. Some work in a lot of my lectures, workshops, and then my course, my more structured course, I bring up, you guys may have heard of her, S. Connolly. What S. Connolly did is Stephanie Connolly made demonolatry, she brought it to the forefront, and she used very simplistic structure and language for it. One thing that came out of, I don't remember the name of her imprint, her publishing imprint, but one thing that came out that was interesting to me, because in my early days I was exposed to the Church of Satan. I'm an elder millennial, so a lot of people around my age or older came into this world pre-internet, and that was almost always through Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan. And the Church of Satan, they said, I remember the Black Flame. The Black Flame was the main magazine for a while. First it was Cloven Hoof, then it was the Black Flame. And around 13 or 14, I had a copy of the Black Flame that commemorated Anton LaVey's life, because he had died in 97, so they had put this magazine together. And in it, they said, hey, we have all these various products. You can buy a Anton LaVey medallion, you can buy certain jewelry, you can buy certain books, but we're not going to send to a prison. Because we're not going to send to a criminal. Because a criminal, it was quite conservative. The Church of Satan said, if you're a criminal, we're not going to reward that. And what F. Connolly did a few years later is she actually released books, little pamphlets, for people that are in prison. And the books were how to build an inner temple, how to communicate with a demon with no tools, just within yourself, right? And I leaned more on actually, although I have some views that might align with the Church of Satan, I appreciated the work of S. Connolly for opening the left-hand path to all kinds of people, even those that are incarcerated or whatever. What lesson can we learn from that? We may not be incarcerated at this moment, but we're crazy people, so we might, who knows, we're always committing illegal things. I'm just kidding. So, but that message is clear. It doesn't matter where you are. It's the most extreme circumstances. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what kind of world you're in. It doesn't matter what your resources are. In that same way, you can still speak to the divine. And I think that mirrors kind of what you're saying, is that in the end, your temple is within the self. Both Thaddeus and Dyra, you're saying this. I think, if I may say, you're both saying that kind of message is that the temple is within the self. And there's a bit of my practice that I spend on some mornings before I get up and I start filling my mind with a bunch of daily tasks and daily travails, and before I get on my phone, I try to envision my astral temple, which is it's a number of very particular environments and landscapes, and that I make sure to pay into that so that I always have it, no matter what the circumstances are. So.
Yeah, and I'm assuming or thinking this is kind of along the same vein. It's a little bit more generic, but in Druid training, what is available for it anyway in the different plants, because there's only a few pathways to that, and most of it being some type of reconstruction, but it's always starting with the sacred temple. You always create. That's one of the first things you learn or that you focus on is just the very first verse is. You have to have your sacred temple. Where is it? What do you see? What's there? How do you feel? And you carry that throughout the entire time you work in that program or work with that grouping. And I find that mine has stuck with me since the day I made it. Even if I don't really follow that path, it's still the same one.
Yeah. I mean, no, it fits.
Because when you're a chaos magician, when you're a Satanist, when you're a Luciferian, if you're willing to take on a label or not, doesn't really matter. I'm just bringing up some of these categories. Regardless of where you set, in the end, your tools, your means, wherever you are in life, what you are, that identity, that assertion, always remains the same. So. I can take you, Adias, I could put you in Tunisia, I can put you in South Africa, I can put you in New Zealand. And the reality is, without your altar room, and whether I think you would agree with me, I'm taking some liberty here, but I think you would agree with me that Adias remains the same.
Mm-hmm.
Adias is unchanged because he didn't have that crystal that was gifted to him a few years ago, and he doesn't have that nice Baphomet statue, that wooden statue that he purchased, or he doesn't have that demonic sigil on the mirror. Without those things, it doesn't mean Adias is no longer Adias, right? It doesn't mean your religion just disappeared with those objects.
Exactly.
It's just reminded me of when we were in Glastonbury and you got kind of like spiritually attacked.
Oh, yeah.
And the next day we had to basically do something about it. And being able to do ritual on the go
Mm-hmm.
and not relying on like your physical temple space, like at home or wherever.
I mean, we found a really cool place to go, though.
Glastonbury is very accommodating. I think it's the most stunning place I've ever done a ritual in my life. It's, what was it called? The White Spring?
Yeah, the White Spring.
Highly recommend to anyone visiting the UK, particularly Glastonbury.
No pictures, so they don't allow
You
it.
can't take pictures. It's a very sacred space. It's very pagan-y because that's what it's like in that area. That's what they kind of, fuck with. But then again, I find that that's quite nice for the neutrality of it.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, and every kind of like deity has their own little space. Like Hecate's got a space, and then who else was in there?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I don't remember. I remember the Hecate one, but I don't remember the names of the other ones. There's like 7 or 8 altars in there.
Yeah, I think there was like a little bit for like Saint Michael.
Yeah, I remember that. There was a couple angel altars.
Yeah, and it's got this natural spring, and you can actually go in it. Like you can get in the spring.
Which we didn't do because
we didn't do because it was February and it was very cold. And yeah, we did a little ritual in there, didn't we?
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. It just reminded me of that. But I guess like that's just Glastonbury for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're more likely to have something happen to you there because it's just so like there's just so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much going on.
That was scary. That was the first time I've had, like, I don't remember. I'm one of those people that don't remember my dreams. Like when I wake up, it's like I was dead and then I'm alive again. And I had one of the most vivid nightmares.
Like, you said you felt something in the bed with you.
Yeah, like I remember I was laying down next to her and I just like scuttled up like right next to her and I tried to wake her up and then I passed out and then like it's just a bunch of shit happened that made no fucking sense whatsoever. But it was so vivid. Like when I woke up, I was like, yeah, like this isn't normal. Like I don't know what the fuck it was, but like.
Also helps knowing people as well in the area. So we were able to sort of like do what we had to do.
Yeah.
So.
You know, it's one thought about that, and then I want to kind of come back a couple of statements ago. But you know, like in the world of psychonautic experiences or psychedelic experiences, you're going to hear a lot of people say the shitty experience is important, right? So I am one like you, but like you, Adius, in a sense, most of my dreams would be considered nightmares by most people. They're all lessons and things like that, and they're all waking dreams, and a lot of my spiritual experience comes from dreams. So, like the psychonautics would say, like the psychedelic people would say, is that every nightmare is a lesson, every bad experience is a lesson. But going back a bit, kind of going off of the experience you guys had, I was living in Belgium at the time. And I had my ritual partner and my dear sister, Lucille. We had said we're going to meet. She was in Europe at the time. We said we're going to meet up in Ireland. And so we were looking for a place to do we're in Ireland, so we want to do a ritual to manifest the witch father. The satanic that exists in Cerninos, or the witch father, or the horned god, in a very visceral and violent and bloody way. Sex, blood, and rock and roll. And we landed in Dublin, and we had a completely debaucherous experience there. And then the next day, we went up north, we rode a train there, we didn't quite find the space, so the next day we rented a car, went out to this place called the Ballinstew Woods. It was about 45 minutes outside. And they said, hey, it was already like 3 or 4 o'clock. They said, once it gets dark, in other words, they said, you're fucked. Once it gets dark, you're not going to be able to see anything. There's no artificial lights, and the woods are dense, fucking dense. And we said, we'll take the risk. And we went out there, and we kind of hiked for about 20, 30 minutes. And it was still day. It was still broad daylight. You could still read in the light. But there was trees that were so dense. I've never seen this before. And I lived in California, went up north to the redwoods and other forests. I've been around forests. I've never seen anything like this. The trees were so dense that it was black if you walk in certain areas of the forest. Black. No light. That it covered the light coming through. And we felt a very unsettling experience. You know, I think of the fairies, the original mythology of the fairies, that are very violent. They steal children. They don't return them. They make people sick. They kill them. These are the original fairies. So we thought of the fairies of the land, which are incredibly, actually, if we think of demons, there's things that are redeeming. There's some demons that teach science, and there's some demons that teach tool making and divination, but the fairies kill. And the fairies steal and they kidnap, right? And we think of fairies, we think of Tinkerbell and shit like that in the West, but the reality is the fairies are actually quite vicious. And we avoided those paths that went into absolute darkness, and we eventually found our place, and we did this simple rite, an apple offering, because we thought if we see a deer, they would like an apple. I read somewhere they would like an apple, so I had an apple. We did a rite from Gemma Gary's The Devil's Dozen. So we did a rite where we walk in reverse. We recite the Lord's Prayer backwards. It's Gemma or Gemma. I've heard it either way. I think it's actually Gemma. And it was a potent rite, but it was very simple. We just had a blade and we had an apple, and then that's what we did. So, feeding off of what you guys just said, the environment can be everything. Like, the environment can literally lead you to this profound, in our case, somewhat terrifying, not terrible, but terrifying experience. And you know, as left-hand path people, and especially as Satanists, you leave room for the divine to be terrifying, and to be ugly, and to be violent. And I think you guys are demonolators. I know Dyra is, and I think Adius, you are as well. The demons aren't going to necessarily be pleasant. This isn't a pleasant experience, right? So, same thing with psychedelics, and same thing with nightmares, as Adius, you were saying, but we're not just to have a pleasant, convenient experience. In fact, we're looking for the opposite. We're looking to be uncomfortable. We're looking to have difficulty. We're looking to be taught something. We're looking to learn a lesson. In convenience, we learn nothing. There's no evolution in convenience. The easier life is, the less it's going to do for you, right?
No, 100%, 100%. Yep. I mean, to that note, I mean, I remember, I don't think I've talked about this. I've talked about it plenty on the show, but I don't think I mentioned it the last time you were on. I remember when I first started working with Lucifer, the first, like, a day after the first ritual that I did with Lucifer, like, it was a lot of noise during the ritual, in the sense that, like, it was successful. Like, I got a lot back. But a day after, and there's photographic and video evidence of this, so I'm not bullshitting. Okay, is the probably, I would say, my first and probably only, like, to date physical manifestation after working a ritual. A day after, my eye on both sides, blood just started coming out of my eye. Just out of fucking nowhere. Obviously, like, my first thought wasn't, oh, this is Lucifer. No, my first thought is I need a fucking doctor, because it's not normal to have, you know.
Both can be true. Both of these can be true.
Yeah.
You're having a religious experience, and also you need to see a fucking doctor.
Yeah. So first thing I did is I jumped online. I did an online doctor. And I told him what was going on. He's like, oh, so your eyes are bloodshot. Like, it's normal. Like, there's blood that goes underneath, like, the film underneath the eye. It's like, no, there's literal blood streaming down my fucking face. Like, he's like, yeah, no, I can't help you. You need to go to a physical doctor. I was like, okay. So I went to the next day. It bled again in the morning. And then I went to an eye doctor because I figured, well, there's blood coming out of my eye, so I might as well get my eye checked, right? And so, you know, he did the thing, like, where he stuck this thing on my face and looked into my eye and stuff. He's like, no, I don't see any damage. Like, there's no broken blood vessels. There's nothing that I can see in your eye that would indicate, you know, that there's a reason why there's blood coming out of your face. I'm like, great, thanks, awesome. And the last time it happened was the next day. We were doing Apocrypha. At the time, it was called the Malice Experience. And live, my face just started bleeding. Like, there's this blood started coming out of my eye. Like, live on stream. Like, and it bled for 3 days. And then nothing, never happened again. And in retrospect, like, in the moment, like, I just kept thinking, like, okay, I need to know what's going on, why I'm bleeding, like, you know, like, medically speaking. When a few days, a week went by, didn't happen again, I related it as, like, I thought about it as, like, that came from Lucifer. That was Lucifer. Because there was no medical explanation that I found or any doctor found as to why there was blood coming out of both of my tear ducts, out of my eye.
Speaking of blood, I need to get some water and possibly drink some blood. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Getting cold in here.
Well, I mean, you want me to turn the aircon off?
Sure.
So is Rook still there?
Yeah, he had to go inside. We have to jet. So he had to go back inside. It's gotten pretty hot out.
It's getting hot out.
We come outside because it gets really loud inside.
Mm-hmm.
So we came out, but it's really hot. It's still like 90 degrees and 85% humidity.
Jesus Christ. How do you do it, man?
Well, we don't even just stay outside. Lots of air conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're gonna come. We're gonna close it out here in a second once he gets back. Yeah, we're not done yet, guys. We still got a couple minutes. Just waiting for Shea to get back. I don't know how many times I've told that story on the show.
What's that?
The whole blood coming out of my fucking eyeball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Fun time?
I closed the window.
You closed what window?
The window upstairs.
Okay. Fun times? I mean, I don't know if it was a fun time. It was definitely...
I remember that.
You remember it? I mean, I was live. We were live. It was all of us together. I think it was Maeve, you. Maeve, you were live with us that day, weren't you? Like you were actually on the show that night.
Oh, my head's starting to hurt again.
Really? It's probably the lights from the monitors.
Yeah, I can feel my pulse.
You also need to eat again. But behind the scene conversations.
Like a day in the life.
Right?
Oh.
You know, we were supposed to do a post-show hangout today.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
I'll hang out audio.
There's a whole group of people in here. It shouldn't hinge on my presence.
No, we were talking. We were going at it. Well, the one thing, well,
I
because
don't
of
know
the
that we were
time.
going at it, but we were talking.
Yeah, well, because of the time, we're going a little bit over here. But I do want to take an opportunity here, Shea, to talk about what you got going on, and what you're offering out there, what people should look forward to.
Yeah. So since we last talked, so I just announced a few weeks ago the second edition of Friedrich Nietzsche on the Left-Hand Path. It's going to be through Miskatonic, and the books will start going out the second week of August. Couple of reasons why I'm excited about why I'm doing a second edition and why it matters to me. One, through Atramentis Books, my former publisher, as beautiful as they are the highest in the market. So my book coming from the publisher to the U.S., where most of my readers are. I mean, I have readers, different places in the world, but most are in the U.S. After shipping, it's going to be about $130. And that was prohibitive for some people, This book is more than half that cost. And so it's going to be available. Not only that, I wanted to give something extra, so I wrote a chapter. It's a chapter I wanted to include on the first edition. And I didn't have, there was time constraints with the publisher, so I didn't. This time I added it. It's a chapter on Stanislav Szybyszewski. This is the first on record to, in modern times, to announce himself as a Satanist and build a systematic framework, a satanic framework in philosophy and ideology. We've only become aware of it in the English-speaking world because of certain academics and scholars in Europe who've translated or who started studying his works because he only wrote in Polish and German. And I began digging into this the first year it started coming out, and I've been following it since then. And I've had a gentleman, one of the only ones in the English-speaking world who've been translating his works. And so I've been fascinated with this figure and everything he represents. So I wrote an extra chapter on it, included it in the second edition, and it's now the second longest chapter in the book. So it's a relatively unknown figure that is formative, that's important, because even though he existed in another place in time, 50, 60 years before Anton LaVey, you see some very haunting similarities or very eerie similarities on their views. And so I think it's important. Anyway, that's the second edition, available through Miskatonic, also through Miskatonic. If you purchase that book now before August 1st, you get a 25% discount on my class, which is going to be with Miskatonic for a while, and that's The Fire and the Wine, which is an 18-week course, probably one of the most comprehensive out there. It's not 4 years, but it's 18 weeks, 25 hours, and it's everything I've picked up over the last 25, 26 years, and it covers history, it covers philosophy, and it covers the ritual magic. So it's incredibly exhaustive, incredibly comprehensive, and we have a a community around it. So this is now the second iteration of it. I put it out through Serpent Hall last year, and Miskatonic. Now I'm collaborating with Miskatonic. It has a broader audience. So I'm really happy to have that out. There's a Spanish edition of the book that's going to be released soon through Manus Sinistra. It's done. I just haven't heard an exact release date, but we've already drawn up the contract, and so that should be coming out soon. So those in the Spanish-speaking world, I don't know how much for the bilingual ones that will be listening to this podcast, there's a Spanish edition, and it's going to have the same material that's in the expanded second edition. Other than that, I'm finally in a place. These sudden projects that I committed months to, I'm now kind of free to work on my book that is ode to Theon, and that is a demonic hymnal. It's kind of elevated, scholastic, with some scholarly background, a book on demons and hymns that are written to them. Some background that is not really. I might have even spoke on it the last time I was here, like
I think
9 months ago, a year ago. But these projects came up, there was a good offer for the second edition, the Spanish edition, and then the course, which took 7 months for me to do. And that kind of took my attention in some workshops and conferences I did. So finally, I promise I'm working on the demonic hymnal. The demonic hymnal. The name is Hymns of the Red Dragon, and that will come out. But
I would like to get you, like, when Witch Skills launches, I'd like to get you as a guest lecturer on there almost as soon as we get that up and running.
Sure. On my course, I brought up Lucia Lowe. I had her do a guest lecture. I think it's good to have spice in the course, just to bring up different faces and different voices. So, yeah, I'd love to. That sounds fun.
Awesome. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's what he's got going on. I definitely want to pick me up a copy of Nietzsche and the Left-Hand Path. Back in my high school years, I would definitely consider myself a nihilist. I don't know so much anymore, but I would like to, get that combination. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Shea. I've always seen nihilism as contradictory to the left-hand path, though I know, like, a lot of people would think it would go hand in hand. I've always looked at it as rather contradictory, because nihilism is kind of like, at least base nihilism is the idea of, like, well, fuck it, there's nothing you can fucking do about it, so, just roll over and die. And the left-hand path, at least for me, is very much, get your fucking shit together and get your shit done, fix your shit.
Right. You're right. Nihilism isn't. Nietzsche doesn't, for most of his life, spoke against nihilism. So nihilism is broke up in several ways. So there's subsects. There's two main, but I'll get to those in a moment. There's practical nihilism, which means you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Suicidal. There's no meaning, I kill myself. Literally, I kill myself. Yep. There's theoretical nihilism, which means I think of a philosophy of nihilism, which it sounds like you in your youth might have adopted, and that makes sense. It's punk rock, fuck all meaning. It makes sense in adolescence to adopt this kind of thing. Now, the two main that he talks about later and what I primarily address in Friedrich Nietzsche on the Left-Hand Path is passive versus active nihilism. So passive nihilism means there is no meaning, so I'm going to find creature comforts. I'm going to allow myself to be distracted. And what that means, Nietzsche talked about the last man, and he talked about what is to come. Thus spake Zarathustra. There is something to come after the death of God. We no longer have a central edifice of meaning. God has left society by the 19th century during Nietzsche's time. Now we're kind of forced to find meaning, and we're finding everything around us to be what he would call decadent. So he sees the passive nihilist as the addicted gamer. He called about the narcotization, what today we'd call brain rot. The Gen Z would call brain rot. TikTok we would call bullshit entertainment, just entertainment that's there just for entertainment. We're going to We're going to binge on a series.
Yep.
And there's joys in that, and that makes sense. Like, I'm not trying to tell, today, if I didn't have this podcast, I got all my things done for my travel next week. I wanted to sit and watch episodes of Hitchhiker, which is a HBO series from the mid 80s. And I wanted to sit and do that all day for the rest of the day. I'm maybe going to get to watch one if I get myself together after this live stream. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But when it becomes wrong, is that we become lost in the throes of human toil, and we lose vision of what it means to be human and what it means to deal with the struggles of life. From that, you have active nihilism. So passive is everything I just described, and then you have active nihilism. Now, active nihilism is we recognize there's no inherent meaning. And what we do instead is we're going to build meaning. We're going to create meaning. We're going to orient our life to create something greater than what we've been granted. We're going to build upon life. And when you say the left-hand path is totally in accordance with active nihilism, we recognize that we can't accept meaning that's been prescribed to us. And it goes beyond what Nietzsche described, but it's this meaning that has been given to us. We say, no, 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 no. We have to reconfigure what this means for us. So that's what the book is about. It's about the left-hand path relating to active nihilism, destroying the old world and creating something anew. So you're absolutely right. That nihilism that colloquially, or that people understand nihilism to be, is totally not in line with the left-hand path. I agree with you. But active nihilism, as Nietzsche prescribed, is 100% in line with Satanism, Luciferianism, and the left-hand path.
I think this is a whole other show, honestly. Like
it is. It totally is.
I'm sitting here right now, like I want to dive headfirst into this and have this conversation with you, but I'm looking at Dyra, I'm looking at Mystic, and I'm like,
Mystic looks asleep. He's sitting and asleep.
Right. So like definitely let me know when you're back.
Hey, feel free, I could come on for a random live stream. We could have that conversation if you need,
I would like to, because the thing is,
I've
always looked at
you're
it.
an inquisitive guy. I would love to go back and forth with you about it.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, I've always thought of it, because I've always thought about my love for Nietzsche. Like, I mean, I've read Ecce Homo, I've read The Antichrist, I've read Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I mean, it was like back in high school. I mean, that was like my stuff. Like, I was reading that at the same time I read Mein Kampf. No, I'm not a white supremacist, but
Cancelled. Let's put an X on his Discord screen. Let's put an X. No. It makes sense. It makes sense. It's this like, it's this study of elitism and what it represents. So, no. There's an entire world to nihilism and Nietzsche's thought that, one thing I could say about Nietzsche is I started reading him in 13, but even now today, I felt like I knew more back then, and I feel like I know even less now after I've committed years to analyzing his work from a much more scholarly standpoint. I understand less about Nietzsche in the sense that...
Well, it was also, like, the crazy thing was, like, with The Antichrist, that's his most popular book. He didn't even finish that book. Like, he was dead before it was finished, and then I think it was like his sister or his wife or somebody took over and...
Oh, you're thinking of Will to Power. Yeah.
So
it was his notes. It was actually, it's the prime resource in my book. It was his notes that his sister put together, and eventually Hitler kind of adopted it, and that's why one of Hitler's main propaganda films is called Triumph of the Will. Because they had adopted. But Antichrist was later in his life, and you're absolutely right. It was 1888, and he became very sick in 1890. And very shortly after that, I mean, for 10 years, he was in hospice. we all have seen that very disturbing video of him on the bed, but also kind of beautiful because he spoke so profoundly about things, and he's on his bed and he's kind of nodding off, and that
Yeah.
was like, it's him sick, but he talked about the most powerful things. I remember taking a philosophy class, and the professor talked about Nietzsche, and he said Nietzsche's a critic, he's not a philosopher. And he was projecting because he lived
Yep.
a life of sickness and infirm. And I was like, hold on, motherfucker. Like, don't just say he was projecting and take away all the meaning of what he fucking said. Like, don't be a douchebag. Like, don't be a
Right.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
Well,
say, oh, well, he was sick, so if he talked about powerful things, then it must not mean anything.
yeah. We'll
So,
definitely have to come back. Let me know when you're back from your trip, because I definitely want to revisit this conversation, because there's a lot that I want to. I would like to believe that I'm well versed in Nietzsche, and it is a conversation when connecting to the left-hand path, something that I also believe I'm well versed in. I honestly think that would be an amazing back and forth between us with that one. Whether we agree or
oh, yeah,
disagree, I think it would be
100%.
fucking amazing.
No, 100%. And what I think's great with you, Adius, is that you speak to a lot of people coming into the left-hand path, a lot of people that are not, maybe they haven't been in it for 10 or 20 years. Your voice is it's approachable. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And I think you and I having a discourse about it when I am, I could become narrowly focused on the subject would be beneficial. I want to be able to speak to someone who knows enough about it that we can have contrasting perspectives, and you could challenge me and I can challenge
Yep.
you, and we can have that conversation. And Mystic has read all this stuff, so he needs to be in this conversation.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. 100%. 100%.
I am by no means an expert.
But
Yeah, but you've read,
Have an
you've read
opinion.
quite, and you read my book, so
Yeah.
that makes you an expert, actually.
I would like to read your book before we have the conversation, so I have that like backing on it. What do you think it would ship out to Mexico?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's Miskatonic. They ship out there. I mean, international shipping's become kind of
Tedious.
weird, but and I should get some of my own copies. Like, I'm thinking I'm gonna come back like the first. I'll send you a PDF, bro. Let's do that.
Yeah, that works. I'm good with that. Like, I mean,
People are gonna start hitting me up about PDFs now. No, I've only given out like 4 or 5 PDFs ever in the last 3 years, but
I mean, I'll still try to order a copy because I like having physical books. But like, if you can shoot me the PDF, so that way,
physical, but like,
yeah,
moved out here.
yeah. So like, I mean, I'll still order a copy, but if you can get me a PDF so I can read some of it before we have that conversation, that would be great. So
yeah, no, for sure, because I think we wouldn't be able to have it until like the 3rd week of August when I get my copies, and then I can send something out to you. But
no, I mean, I remember. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it's supporting the author, right? Because I remember we had a conversation with, I can't remember the name of the author's, I can't remember his name. Mystic, who did Psychic Witch?
Matt Oren.
Matt, that's it,
Oh,
Matt
Matt
Oren.
Oren.
Yeah, so he offered to send me a free copy of his book, and I was like, no, I'm gonna buy it, and I did. Like, I bought it, like, because somebody made a video about him attacking him, and then I made a video defending him, and he happened to be in the chat, and we had a conversation and stuff like that. And he's like, hey, I'll send you a copy of the book. It's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll buy it. And, I bought it. So it's about supporting the work, because, like, too many people don't support that stuff. And I still buy fucking CDs, man. So.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think you support things if you still want them to happen. So if you have a Patreon, I suggest everyone who listens to support the Patreon, but and everyone who listens who's interested, I made a conscious effort to make sure that this book is more available to people, and I think that's an effort to royalties. I don't get shit. Like, it's laughable royalties are. So when I plug these things, it's because I want the information out there.
Yep.
Like, the money's gonna, it's gonna afford me maybe time at a nice restaurant a couple times or something like that. Like royalties are not where, and every author in the esoteric is gonna tell you this. You could sell out completely, which is what I did with my first edition. And I made somebody about $50,000 to $60,000. You would be offended if I told you how much I got out of that.
Probably.
So royalties, yeah. So for authors, yeah, not even 10%. Not like, we're hovering around 5% of that. And I'm the one who spent 3 years fucking writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So royalties are a fucking joke.
Yeah.
So that's not where we get anything. And I'm fortunate that I have a career on the side where I have my daytime career, and this is my moonlighting.
Yeah.
My occult world is like extra. And it's great because I don't have to do things to make money. I can speak my voice, and I'm not bound to it financially. So it's some extra whatever that comes to me, but so I'm able to kind of not care so much about that side. But when I promote it and I plug it, it's not because I'm trying to eke money out of people. It's because I think the message is fucking important.
Yeah.
And I think it means something. So anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, when I get back from Germany, I would love to come back on and you and I can have a
I think that'd be a great episode. I mean, it's been a while since I've had a good, solid conversation about philosophy. So
nihilism. Just discuss nihilism. I mean, it's important.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Especially now, I think people feel they have less trust in the world than ever before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's a valid topic right now to talk about, and I'm looking forward to getting into it with you. Especially like with the background that I have on it, the background you have on it, even with Mystic, the background he's got on it, Dyra, her point of view on it. No, you're not just here. Honestly, like having her on, like Dyra is one of the only people that I trust when it comes to esoteric knowledge. Like, and it's not just because she's my partner. It's because I've watched her videos. I've watched her content. I've watched her sit down and research something for 3-4 hours straight. Like when it comes, like when I have questions about the Goetia, she's the one that I go to. Well, even Santa Muerte, Goetia. So.
Dyra seems pretty committed, so.
No, 100%.
I wouldn't want to cross her too many times. You know what I mean?
100%.
I'm gonna play it safe. You know what I mean?
All right. So with that, let's call it there. Shea, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been a great conversation.
It's a lot of fun. Every single time I have a lot of fun coming on, brother.
So looking forward to for the next time. All right. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for coming here out and watching and being here in the live. You guys are fucking amazing. As always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.